Hey, it's Romy. Welcome to my channel, Taurus. This is your January 2021 soul story. So if you have a Taurus sun, rising or moon, this is a general reading, but it might resonate for you. Please do check back in throughout the month, see how the energies unfold and where the insights might continue to form a clearer picture for you in relation to your own path. So we are opening up with the energy of the Lovers for you, Taurus. And, I feel that there is this sense of you having a very powerful realization through January of what it is that you want, what you're seeking, and really what you expect in terms of really important connections and relationships. They might not be for all of you romantic, but certainly I think you are getting a very strong directive from the guides at the moment as to where you need to stand up for yourself, where you need to assert a boundary, where you need to be firm in terms of what the vision looks like for you in one aspect or another. Now, on the 6th of the month, Mars is moving into your sign Taurus until the 3rd of March, which means that you have this beautiful accompanying kind of sense of focus and productivity to really get some meaningful progress in some of the areas that you are, you really want to see that growth coming in. When we're in Capricorn energy, it's a fellow earth sign, so it's speaking the same language as you, yeah? So you really, you're at your most comfortable, I would say, in this first half of January, as you are figuring out, really how you feel, what the last 12 months has meant to you on a deeply personal level, and really trying to figure out perhaps how to either reconnect or to re-establish like an important line of communication. So there may be some of you that have experienced perhaps an emotional distance or a quietening or a feeling of just almost taking a step back. But with this energy of the Lovers coming forth, there is the desire to want to bring two people back to the table, two parties back to the table. There's just some kind of important conversation or negotiation I feel that's going to be coming up through that early part of January. There's a message here about making sure that you speak up, and also this aspect of you really like receiving some kind of nice kind of self-esteem boost. Now, I do think that on the whole, January seems to me to deliver sort of three really important things to you. This was what was coming up when I was connecting into your energy ahead of the reading, Taurus, and it came through as being something brave, something complicated, and something to celebrate. So for each and every one of you, I think that will translate differently. Here we have the energy of the Ten of Cups. And I think there is a firm focus for some of you on how you establish the right kind of environment around you to be supportive for the things that you are trying to achieve and what you know it's going to take for you to start to feel a little bit better about yourself. And, there is a bit of a focus in and around, I would say, the aspect of soul family, the people who are really important to you, And there's something about this idea of what has felt really complex or difficult now starting to become much clearer in your mind, okay? And perhaps this is also going to be the realization of what or who has been messing with your mind. That was another thing that was kind of coming through. So it's almost this sense of you realizing the energy or the toxicity or the particular type of information that has really not been serving you very well. And I think that, perhaps through that latter part of December with, a lot of the heavier eclipse energies, the conjunction coming through, that big full moon that we released at the end of December. And this idea of you understanding what it's going to take to have a little bit more of that inner peace, that kind of vibration that is going to help you to thrive moving forward. So a very strong idea of what each of these cups represents for you is what you're really going to be considering in this first part of January. Now, the other big news is that we have Uranus moving direct on the 14th of the month. Of course, Uranus is in your sign Taurus. Now, just a note to remember that whenever these outer planets station retrograde or forward motion, there's this tendency for it to feel quite disruptive, and we can sometimes get the kind of final little kickbacks of what we've supposed to have understood or been working on, during the season of that retrograde period. And so you can get a short, sharp reminder, if you like, and the energy of judgment coming through is asking for a final release, a final acknowledgement, and some sort of transition, which I think is going to be very highlighted for you in and around that time. Now, Uranus and the energy of this planet is actually lit up very, very strongly through this month of January. not just because Uranus is moving direct itself, but also we come into Aquarius season on the 19th, and Uranus is the natural ruler. And we also have this really powerful aspect where Jupiter's going to square Uranus on the 17th. Now, this has an energy of extravagance and extreme unfoldings that can be at times controversial. They can feel very rash, very impulsive, and people can make extraordinary decisions in what feels like a very sudden out of the blue kind of context. Now, don't get me wrong, there's an act of brilliance that can come with this, and so actually it might mean that the meeting of minds or the coming together with somebody or the reuniting or the connection actually sparks something really extraordinary for you. And remember, when I'm talking about this idea of something brave, something complicated but also something to celebrate. But also this energy can drive people to want to kind of act a little crazy and to do things that might be normally out of character. They want to get a shock, they want to get a reaction, and there's this innate inner drive that is telling them that they have to break free from something. Remember, Jupiter wants to expand, it wants to allow for that growth to take place, but Uranus is coming in as the rebel, as seeking freedom, but doing it by shock tactics, by that surprising nature. Now, this can be incredibly progressive, and sometimes, particularly for the earth signs that are perhaps a little bit more cautionary, sometimes it takes these big events or other people to come in and kind of drive something before you're prepared or ready to be all in yourself, but it can feel quite uncomfortable. So that energy creates a lot of restlessness and anxiety through the second part of the month, and even in Aquarius air sign, it's a little bit more uncomfortable for your natural Taurian energy. So the first part of January and up to that new moon is going to be much more conducive to you being able to feel more comfortable with where you're at, setting out a vision and ideas and plans for yourself. And certainly there is a suggestion with this energy of judgment that something is coming that is reaching its point of culmination, and I think that you are ready to release it, you're ready to express it, you're ready to acknowledge it, and that's going to be really powerful because it's setting out quite a firm agenda to not only yourself but I think to the people around you, so that they are going to be quite clear in terms of what your position is or how you stand with something. Now, I do want to say, be mindful of the fact that with this energy toward the end of the month, particularly where Mars squares Jupiter, there may be some new perspectives or new ideas that you feel are being kind of pushed upon you, forced upon you, and that might kind of bring about a little bit of a kickback from you. In that instance, I think there is the opportunity for you to step back and find a way and find an approach that is going to still give you something of value and something that can still be positive for you, okay? It just might feel that initially there's quite a rash response that may come almost like in the energy of feeling quite hostile or quite affronted or taken aback by something. But I think once you give yourself the chance to kind of step back and review the situation again, you will see there's a little bit of a silver lining in there for you, okay? And this is not about you having to follow somebody else's tune. It's just about you being able to speak up and actually realize that, the self-respect and self-esteem that you have with you, with your own energy, with your own ideas, with what your vision is right now is absolutely still valid, and it's not being kind of completely taken off the table. I think there's something important there. So we have the Knight of Swords here, and it does bring in this air energy. Of course, Lovers connects to Gemini, so does the Knight of Swords, so that might be an important either sign of somebody that you're dealing with, or perhaps the energy of Gemini. Of course, it is in the North Node for us at the moment, also in your second house of value, and where the way that you're looking at material success, and what you honor, what is sacred to you, and how you take care of those sacred things in your life. Now, there's always a returning energy to a certain degree with the Knight of Swords, and we do have Mercury going retrograde at the end of the month. It happens on the 30th, and it will be with us right through to the 21st of February. Remember, we're a little bit in shadow as well the 2 weeks prior to that. So you may see people starting to come back from the past, important connections. You might even have ideas that are really wanting to wing their way back to you. Now, this is important because that Jupiter square Uranus is going to drive perhaps you or people around you to want to say, that isn't working, let's completely start over, let's start fresh. Let's kind of completely change the team, or, let's like end this relationship, let's throw this out, let's start again. And then we have this kind of returning energy of the Mercury retrograde saying, actually, you know what, there was still something of value there. And maybe it didn't need to have such an extreme response. Maybe we could have just tweaked it or made a slight adjustment. Knowing what we now know, we could return to it and make it even better. So just be aware that that kind of a contrast is coming through the month of January. I think you will be inherently a little bit more cautious than some of the other signs anyway, in relation to kind of jumping too quickly or too rashly into things. But the suggestion of that Knight of Swords means that you could yourself also feel that real impulse to make change happen and happen fast. I also think that there's a very quick turn of events that seems to be cropping up. And again, there's this idea of you getting a very strong realization through that turn of events about what's important to you. And that might lead you to want to speak from the heart. And to really make a decision on how you want something to move forward. So here we've got the energy of the Chariot. So, very powerful moving energy in the center of your reading coming through here. So I'm not looking at all a month that feels stagnant, even if there are certain limitations or optics that surround you that feel like they are suppressing or holding you back. It's really quite the opposite to the way that the astrology and the way that the energy is actually flowing here. So we have Cancer also highlighted with the energy of the Chariot that might be relevant for you. And again, there's this aspect of partnership, of coming together here. We can see the two winged horses here. We've got the two figures in the energy of the Lovers, in the energy of the Ten of Cups. And so there is something about your desire to want to come together. And it might be by way of a collaboration. It might be by way of, seeking out or bonding with a new friend. It could be to do with your significant other or a key relationship, but there is this desire to want to find a meaningful way forward, and perhaps there has been disagreement or a slight divergence in the path at some point, or like I said, distance in some way, but there is this major transition and release energy that's coming that's going to allow for this moment where you can figure out what it's going to take to get to the next level. The really interesting thing I think about January, as we sort of reflect upon what 2020 taught us and how we're moving into this new kind of 5D energy, is this recognition that, the way that we need things and what we're seeking and what's important and the priorities that we have is really, really changing, and how we feel the energy is very different as well. But, we can all still be guilty of that kind of initial emotional response that is really reflective of an old imprint, like a ghost image of who we used to be or how that particular dynamic played out. And this is what I mean about the energy of this kind of complex puzzle becoming much clearer and cleaner in your mind. There's some sense of clarity about you really saying, actually, I don't even want to respond that way anymore. It just doesn't feel like me. I don't identify with it anymore. But you might still have to go through that a couple of times before you come to that ability to really anchor it in. But remember that Mars and Taurus is giving you that sense of focus and the ability to kind of really commit and see something through to the point of it being very advantageous for you, Okay, so we have the Six of Pentacles coming up, and it is, I think, almost the ability for you to start to look at the give and take, not only within the relationships, but also in how you're approaching your life. So this might be your work-life balance. It might mean how much time you're, giving to yourself by way of, physical exercise, by way of rest, by way of what you're allowing for the things that light you up, your passion, how much time you're getting to dedicate to your family or your children. So there's something about this energy exchange, this give and take, that's going to be really significant. And I think it's also coming in as a little bit of a don't forget about me, because we can get really hasty and we can think this looks like a great idea, or this conversation was so on fire, it's absolutely made me decide that this is the direction I'm going in and this is what I want to happen. And then we have this judgment energy that's just coming in as that real powerful reminder with that Six of Pentacles. Is like, we need to get this right so that we don't end up with an imbalance that you may well have gone through or already experienced and caused you in the past some kind of real powerful impact on either your physical energy levels, your emotional well-being, your mental state of mind. And so, your guides are wanting to kind of come in quite protectively, I feel here, to give you that opportunity for transition, for a rebirth, for the beginning of something new, but not forgetting. Remember, judgment is ruled by Pluto. It's that planet that is asking for deep, profound transformation as a result of us doing the work with our shadow self and coming through that the other side, being a changed person and knowing what it is that we need to address so that we can become the best version of ourselves. And I do think there's something about you moving into this month of January, and when we see Uranus moving direct and really feeling like, you know what, I am seeking to be the best of me. What's that going to take? What brave decision do I need to bring forth in order to help me achieve that? Your Queen of Pentacles, I love showing up for you. Of course, she represents that earthy energy of yourself, a Capricorn, Virgo. And again, like I said, just feeling more comfortable and at peace, speaking the same language. Now, I like this coming in with the combination of the Lovers, because again, I feel like you are going to be able to be yourself. You're going to be able to get your point across and speak what is on your mind. Like I said, try to do that ahead of when Mercury moves retrograde, because in Aquarius, it can leave us feeling really spaced out. So we might be saying the things that we mean, but they're just not landing or being heard or received in the right way. Or we have that very kind of voidy feeling in terms of trying to access specific words or emotions. And, so there is something about you being at your best, like I said, up to that midpoint. Now, it shows that you are going to be incredibly resourceful. There's also a bit of hard work coming in here. And I think that that's going to help you focus. And maybe for some of you that have been experiencing some real challenges in one or more areas of your life, and are perhaps still processing an awful lot, maybe still healing from different things, there's a need to find something to take your time, energy, and attention, okay? And I think that you will do that really diligently. And I think that you'll actually be surprised what you end up achieving through this month of January. I think some of you are going to get a fantastic head start on different projects or things or goals that are important to you. If you find yourself in a situation that was completely not of your making, remember I talked about this idea of something brave, something complicated, something to celebrate. What is this bravery? Because what I'm seeing is that it can take you really far. And here we've got the Six of Wands, and the figure is atop this horse kind of reaching up for the star here. So there's something about setting your sights really boldly, going after what it is that your heart is asking you to at the moment, and feeling like it's okay to take a bit of a risk or a leap of faith. Like I feel like you are being really backed up when I'm looking at the energy of this reading, and that actually you could really surprise yourself. Like we said, that Jupiter square Uranus, it can bring in a lot of different things, but one of them is extraordinary miracle type events that from nowhere can lead to these doors opening and just amazing inspiration or opportunities or connections showing up that can be extraordinarily supportive. And there's something about the reward and recognition that comes in with this Six of Wands that I'm really loving for you. We've got a couple of sixes coming up, in fact 3 in your reading this month, so that vibration numerology wise is also something to pay attention to. I love the sunflowers bursting forth here, jumping over the heart. So like I said, something to celebrate. There is going to be something that you either achieve or that makes its way to you by way of information. Now, you have to keep an open mind, I feel, Taurus. Sometimes things are going to come about in kind of peculiar or obscure ways. So at first glance, they don't feel like they would be something to celebrate or particularly positive. But, what comes right at the back of them, on the heels of them, I feel is going to be really well suited for you, is what they're telling me, okay? I think it's important that you realize that what you put in, you are going to reap the rewards of, even if it isn't all coming together in January. But here we've got the Empress. I love this. So of course she represents your energy, Taurus, and that energy of Venus. And I do think there's something about Venus moving into Capricorn on the 8th that is, it's like this beautiful moment of epiphany for you in terms of this realization of what it is that you want and what it is that you need and what it's going to take to get it if you haven't already arrived at that. But it brings a new flavor. It brings a different type of energy into the equation. And I think it's going to serve you really, really well. Now, there is something about you being extraordinarily supportive as well, and being kind of this really empowered energy that can kind of draw people out of a lower vibration or somewhere that they have felt extraordinarily stuck. So I also see you as kind of illuminating and lighting up the bigger picture, or a vision or an idea. So that's going to bode really well for those of you who are leaders or kind of managers, or even within a family dynamic where it's important that you make the decisions and try to kind of boost people's energy. And again, I think that Spirit are going to help support you with that, because you're going to be learning through the balancing out of your own energy the best way to do that and how to communicate that in the right way. We have a beautiful full moon coming in the sign of Leo on the 28th of the month. That fire energy lighting up your 4th house of home and family, and perhaps even places of work. So there might be some big reveals, changes, or revelations that are coming in and around that time for you. Let's just take a look and see what this oracle card is. Door to value. Okay, so the door is opening here. Okay, so the floodgates have been opened. We can see this palace in the background, and of course this flow of abundance that's coming through. There is something about the energy, again, 31 linking into number 4. So this 4th house energy. So I think particularly around this full moon in Leo, just pay attention to what opportunities might be revealed at this time that you can seize. Now the door isn't fully opened, okay? So we have a little ways to go before we get to see the full picture, but you're getting a snapshot of something. There is going to be something to be celebrated. But remember what I said about there being this complication or something complicated. I feel like it's not that there's a sacrifice or a kind of I don't know, I just think be aware that there might be, it's not a catch, but there's something that's certainly not as straightforward as it might initially present itself to be for you, okay? It's not anything that I don't think you can handle, that you can't work your way around, but I think it's important to have your eyes open and to be a little bit cautious about not moving too fast, even though you've got this energy driving you really strongly. Yeah, now there is a strong sense of travel coming through here, which I know for many of you might feel right now very restrictive, but I certainly think that there's going to be very strong plans being put in place in the month of January, even if they are not able to be fully realized yet. So you might be deciding or making major decisions around that aspect of things. So we have the card of embracing here. And there's a beautiful sense of stillness. We're looking at a sunset, something being released, and perhaps you having to embrace what it is that you need to release right now. There's a wisdom that's coming through with this crane as it kind of looks out over the kind of swampland area here. The water is very, very still, so it doesn't suggest this is a deeply kind of traumatic or tumultuous acknowledgement, but all the same, I still feel that this is something that's kind of hitting hard, and it's, because I'm feeling it really strong in my solar plexus and in my heart chakra. So, I know it's going to be on a deeply emotional level for you. So what you are embracing by way of release is something that it's time. It's time. But in that acknowledgement, it is going to create space for something to really allow these doors to kind of flood open for you. And I think that embracing is also about realizing where it is that you want to see yourself. And what I mean by the realizing is like, you can visualize something, you can write it on your planner and your goal, but are you actually like feeling it every morning? Do you wake up and kind of own that energy? Does your physical body express it in the same way that your thought forms do? So the embracing of actually what it is that you are becoming, who you are becoming, and what you continue to want for yourself and your life, also needs to be completely encompassed in this new 5D energy. You need to start to think and act and be different and honor that. And, if you haven't started to feel the effects of that yet, that's okay. There's an unfolding process that's going to continue all the way through 2021 to help support that knowledge and understanding. But you have some really beautiful, powerful energies that I feel are going to be working supportively for you through this month, Taurus. Now, this is a general reading. I'd encourage you, like I said, to check back in and see how the messages keep unfolding as we make our way through January. If you'd like to join me for the extended version, please just take a moment and think about a question that might not have come up in the main spread, and we'll go ahead and pull a couple of cards for you. that we will explore a little bit more in the extended reading. Okay. So I'm just going to clarify these main energies now. So just beginning with this energy of the lovers. Oh, nice. Okay, so we clarify with the lovers again. So relationships, partnerships, important decisions and choices very strongly highlighted, and a King of Swords. So, you know, very likely that Gemini or the influence of Gemini in some way is very strong around you. Yeah, decisions coming in. I think you're also worried about the way that they're going to impact other people, you know. Perhaps rightly so. There could be a little bit of a kickback. And like we said, you know, there's also maybe some resistance to your ideas or you in some way, but I don't think that you need to let that stop you. That Emperor kind of, another 10 of Cups here. Could be a cardinal energy we're looking at. Cancerian, Capricorn, Aries. Okay, so Knight of Swords just clarified with a Knight of Pentacles here. Oh wow, and the Knight of Cups. Could be lots of options on the table, lots of people, lots of different ways to deal with something. The Knight of Wands as well, which means we've got all of the Knights come up in your reading here. Empress has come in again as well. Just with all of the busyness of this Queen of Pentacles, and we've got the Four of Swords coming in there, so it's going to have to be important just to strike the right balance, you know, so you don't burn out. Little bit of timing, like we said, in relation to that door to value with Temperance coming in. Okay, Taurus, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks so much for tuning into the channel. I hope you've enjoyed listening. And if you'd like to join me for the extended, you'll find the link in the description box and the comment section underneath. And I look forward to connecting with you again next month. Have a great January. Take good care. Bye-bye.